Zeratul, Brightwing moves in as well, and all of a sudden you drive the fight away from the boss. You can fight with a level 20 talent against level 16 talents on the opponent's side, but then the Dehaka drag happens and that ruins your entire play, and all of a sudden you lose your team. So in that case, I feel Freedom, I wouldn't say they threw. It was just a very cool moment and a great play by Dehaka to ruin the idea that Freedom had.
All right, let's find out where we're going for our next battleground in this best of 3 as we head to Sky Temple by BTG. Skimmy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a map where it's going to force those team fights around objectives. This is going to really play into their style. I just really want to see this Tyrell. We've asked for it games 1 and 2 from the Chinese team, and they haven't shown it to us. They seem to be really locked into this idea of the Mirrodin, which, I mean, rightfully so. He's a very strong hero as a result of this rework with those level 7 and 16 power spikes, but still, Tyrell, it is their bread and butter. It lends so much to it. I'm still not sold on the idea of Falsed in the last game. Yes, they get the win, but it wasn't the cleanest.
Yeah. All right, game number 3 now to decide who moves on to the winners match to get the opportunity to play against Fnatic.
With talking, yeah, it's gonna be fun. So one thing about the last game that I still have to say is that we criticized the Chinese team for not really having a synergy, and that a lot of the victory really depended on that one play, whereas Freedom throughout the entirety of the map looked better. But overall, I have to say, if you compare the performance of BTG in game 1 to their performance in game number 2, they definitely leveled that up. So if they can continue on that trend, then Freedom is going to have a much tougher game now on the 3rd map.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the simple things, that's where Beyond the Game has excelled. These scrappy fights and, you know, being able to win these small moments, not think of the bigger picture. Like, it's a tale of, as you say, Dehaka ruining this incredibly cool setup from Team Freedom, and they were just like, no, let's just shut this really 3-step process down with one small move, and I think that's where they've really excelled.
Now, the interesting part for me actually was that we talked in the first game a lot about the chaos that was oftentimes introduced and how BTG had problems capitalizing on it. And traditionally, that's actually what Chinese teams excelled at. If there was chaos in team fights and just like the fight being all over the place, that's where their coordination and their synergy really comes through. But as BTG is more or less a Chinese pickup team where we have now 3 players that got replaced, they don't have quite the same level of synergy you would normally expect from a Chinese team. So in the second game, they worked a lot better towards those goals. And with what we're seeing right now from the draft, it feels a bit to me that they are trying to stick with the same comfort picks, or at least a similar idea of what they showcased on First Hollow.
And I like that a lot because it actually did find a fair bit of value in terms of that mercenary control and just the ability to find the value with the Ancestral, especially. You're saying a lot of those Ancestrals were actually meeting their mark, where in some cases, you know, it can land a little bit lackluster. So the fact they've gone for this, once again, doesn't really reveal too much, does give them the option to then try and keep up with this mobility that we saw from Team Freedom, because they could realistically do the exact same kind of strat, but on this map as well.
I think that Team Freedom, no matter what DPS they are going to run here, are really still looking towards that Brightwing pick. The boss is very impactful on this map. We saw great play out of Collusion, zoning that out. They're going to take the Task Tracer again. I think for BTG here, a Brightwing ban is pretty strong. You don't think of Brightwing as a super empowering support for Tracer, but boss control has been a big determining factor in these two teams that have been so closely matched in terms of laning and things like that when they match the globals. So that boss could be a deciding factor in this game, and taking that card away from Team Freedom would be a good move here, I think, for BTG.
I would take it away from BTG. I would be more worried that BTG
exactly.
says, hey, if you leave Brightwing up, then we are taking the double support here, and we start to control, first of all, Tracer, and also we have a tool against ETC in case that he decides to go Mosh Pit over stage dive in this game.
And if they don't decide to actually pick it themselves, then it would make sense to go for that ban, because otherwise, as you say, it does really allow them to have the double shield. They go for the Dehaka here instead. They do not want any chance of an isolation, which really suggests to me they are all about piling in.
I like that also for a different reason. Before Tracer and Tassadar was picked, when we didn't know that Freedom wanted to go down that path again, I thought for them Dehaka would actually be a great pick, because then you end up again with your global, you can go ETC into Mosh Pit, and you can really control the map extremely well. And globals on this map are very, very powerful. So in this case, they did decide to go into Tracer Tassadar in a higher priority, which I actually like, but that means that Dehaka was still an option for later on, and BTG takes that away from them.
Looking to highlight the Abathur ban right now, though, so that obviously will give you some potential global presence. Obviously works really well with Greyman and Rhaegar in the early game for camp control. Leaving the Brightwing open, I get the feeling Beyond the Game isn't really very comfortable with Brightwing, and I don't think they'll pick it up here. Looking now at the Genji ban they showed us in both games 1 and 2 here, so they could target ban on Infinity, who's shown those hyper carry type DPS picks. So Brightwing available now. I don't get the sense they'll pick it, but it feels silly not to, right? It's so strong against the comps Freedom has shown us. And again, they're not going to pick it. I didn't think they would.
So they don't go for Brightwing. They banned out their...
Triple
support. What's better than double support?
Win career now. I mean, that's exactly what Career said, right? Double utility. It's all about damage, damage, damage.
When you can't win with the double support, you pick triple support.
There you go. Didn't expect this one. I suppose probably nobody did.
Okay, but there's a couple of things to talk about. So, for the reason mentioned, we like the Brightwing. Especially after you banned out the Haka, you still want to pick up a global. Another option for them would have been to leave the Haka open, hope that it's not getting banned out by Freedom, and they take the Haka themselves. But now, all of a sudden, they stepped it up to a completely different level by simply saying, yes, we take still Brightwing in the global, but also we're jumping straight into Karazim here.
I want to ask a lovely question. If there was ever going to be a chance for Bloodlust. If there was ever going to be a chance for Bloodlust.
I mean, right now it just feels like a protect the Greymane composition, almost like mission kill Tracer. So
I don't think we'll see Bloodlust, but if it is Quicksilver bullets, I mean, I guess you could make an argument for it coming through here. Eyes in the Dark, same build we saw just earlier.
That's why I said chance, just so we are on the same
There
page.
certainly is an argument. I think that could be made. All right, Lucio Sonia, so solo lane here. Going to be a little bit odd, you know. I think it's going to be, well, in Korea, in situations like this, often Karazim becomes a solo laner early, then Brightwing later, obviously with the global presence. What a weird game we've got coming up on our hands here.
That's one way to describe it.
We talked about Karazim going to be prioritized a lot higher at this tournament, and he brings a lot to the table. You have the on-point damage. They're putting extra pressure on Tracer with all of this. So Tracer is in a situation where she has to deliver most of the damage on the side of Team Freedom, and where she's one of the heroes with the most impact in this setup. And right now you have the on-point damage through Karazim, you have Brightwing as a direct counter, so you have a lot of tools that you can actually use to get her low. Greymane can then go in with Go for the Throat. So I feel like the idea here is really shut down Tracer as hard as you can, and then you're going to be in a great spot to win these team fights. And of course you can also heavily out-sustain your opponent.
The question I'll be asking you, though, at the desk is it going to be a palm or is it going to be the seven-sided strike? Because at this stage here, I would say that if they are so heavily reliant on the Greymane to pop off, if he doesn't, then, hey, there are a bunch of supports basically saying, go do your job. And if he doesn't do it, then they're all just sort of hanging around and Tracer just runs rampant.
I think there's arguments on both sides. Seven-sided can really punish the Sonya ETC heavy aggression to try to catch that Greymane. But Palm protects the Greymane, and what I think this comp is going to do to try to beat the Tracer is not necessarily blow up the Tracer, then win the longer fight that way, is out-sustain Tracer's damage, which is low in output, you know, slowly over time. It's really that burst that comes through with the CC that's going to get the kill. So that's why I think Palm could actually be the better option here.
But you could also make the argument for Brightwing trying to get an isolation with Emerald Wind and then coming in with a seven-sided. So there's definitely a lot of aspects that they could show with this, since you have your third support, you have Reka, for not something I say also often.
No.
For the Ancestral, and just having the panic button ready for Greymane. The one thing that I personally am actually looking to is, besides all the theory crafting about, okay, do they isolate with Brightwing and try to capitalize on a seven-sided, is will the triple support also affect Meridian's build? Because now we can all of a sudden talk about why healing static, why trying to go into the double thunderclap and trying to, because the whole idea is be sustainable and unkillable. But now all of a sudden you can say, like, wait a second, sustain? I guess I have a bit of that. I might need more damage. So are we going to try and play around that? So I hope that the triple support, as crazy as it is on the face of it already, is also going to trigger very interesting talent builds now.
That's right. So what he's saying is Haymaker into seven-sided. Thank you very much, gentlemen. As we
You're
now
laughing. I could see that.
It could.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As we go over now to the commentary team, game number 3. Let's get it done.
Speaking of Haymaker, we got a Haymaker of a series here because they're bringing the big action. We've got a lot of action in our first few games, but winner is going to move into that upper bracket lower. Probably not the place you want to be this early in the day.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to face Fnatic in the upper bracket, but it's still a very lovely place to be, I heard at least. So let's see who can make it. Is it going to be BTG or is it going to be Team Freedom? I just realized there's triple support on the right side for Beyond the Game.
If you average out solo support first game, triple support the other one, still leads the double support
Still
over.
Average.
Speaking of triple support, we're going to hit game number 3 right now as we've got BTG taking on Team Freedom. Winner moves on. The other one's going to drop down. We're going to see how this plays out here on Sky Temple.
And Jayhow, I better hope that Team Freedom fans that may be watching are not believers in historical results indicating any likelihood for the future, because Tassadar's statistics so far in this tournament are abysmal indeed. 1 win, 7 losses. That's from yesterday and today together. In this series alone, 0-2 on the Tassadar. And from yesterday, 1-5.
So what you're saying is
Fnatic
Team
banded
Freedom is
out.
trying to change history.
Sure, I mean, they can double his win rate.
They could double his win rate in 1 game as we got beyond the game here on the right side. See, they're posturing up with a triple lane phase here in the bottom. Of course, you're going to try and get early value out of the gray main. Of course, the lightning bomb picked up by Rhaegar. Make sure and get that early siege damage in. You also have a few heals there by Brightwing if they decide to push in. But so far, Team Freedom not showing anywhere on the map, so very dangerous to go in.
And I think this draft is really a big challenge. Take away the names, take away the fact that Beyond the Game is playing with 4 substitutes. And you look at the draft, and I would say Beyond the Game has a massive advantage here. Tracer Tassadar is the old trick to get easy wins, but it hasn't been easy for them in a very long time now. With so many layers of protection, with Polymorph, with the sustain the teams are bringing out, survive that pulse bomb, and she just becomes an annoying gnat, something to be swatted away.
All right, well, Grubby, Kaldor was talking about some survivability, and speaking of survivability, that's going to be first blood as Rhaegar goes down. But Murden not opting to go into a perfect storm, still going into more survivability against this. I mean, what do you make of it?
I mean, there's a little bit of poison damage here in Sonya, and that's pretty much it insofar as picking third wind for recovering from poison. Sometimes we see, okay, you want third wind because there's Gul'dan or Lunara. In this case, it really is about the re-engage. Anytime there's beacon control battleground, such as Brax's holdout or indeed Sky Temple, third wind has value. Recover very fast from a low health pool after trading and win the re-engage. And it's certainly interesting. You've got triple supports and still go for that.
So Pulse Bomb going out onto ST, gonna live through that. The threat though, as Nasmus trying to do work. We see the top channel was momentarily channeled there by Sonya as the mid complete control here by Team Freedom. Wonder if Team Freedom, because that top one has not been channeled much, if they might try and opt for an early team fight, as they do have 4 for the moment. But Tassadar, as we can see on the mini-map, still there, but the action clearly here in the top.
Interesting to see Molly on Rhaegar. He was fairly instrumental on Falstad in the last match on Cursed Hollow. And 365 went double Rhaegar. Now it's going to be Molly on the Rhaegar, from the Falstad to the Rhaegar. Interesting Kharazim talent as well. Spirit Ally getting the healing rather than the 50% damage reduction against Tracer's auto attacks.
All heals all the time for this team. We're going to see how it plays out as Zugrug under attack there. Infinity trying to go in, taking a little bit of damage on the way back, but triple support says, you know what, man, you're fine. We only have 2 here. That's all that matters.
Nice sound wave there from Collusion. Pumping everyone away. Power slide, and that should be a kill. Infinity goes down. The Grey Main will get eliminated, and that's the vast majority of Temple lasers for Freedom shot towards the structures of Beyond the Game.
That's a huge bone right there. They now find themselves a full level up, and it was all because of the early rotations and Sonya trying to get up there to make sure and hold on to everything. It really worked out well, and they did end up indeed taking that fight. They ended up getting a pick out of it, stretching their lead, which could be a pretty determining factor if they could get to 10 a little bit quicker, because that next Temple phase, of course, will be solo in the bot.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. Also, the clearing of the wave fast at the top allows Team Freedom to send Sonya to do the Bruiser Camp. Actually broke it off. That's interesting. I could swear I could see him going for that Bruiser Camp. In what state did he leave it? He only killed the Wizard of the Bruiser Camp and will be going back to the top lane for that bit of XP. But Team Freedom now, with the talent lead, can push bottom lane and leverage that to their advantage. Keep in mind that Pulse Bomb is available, so we have the Siege Camp here being won by Team Freedom.
I hear Wizard, I hear Leverage, it sounds like Levy something. You're a
It's
wizard, Grubby.
Saw.
Now we're back on the camp action. Here, going to start that. Got a little bit of action down here. Siege Giants pushing in bot lane, trying to get a bit more structure damage, make this temple even more valuable. Collusion coming in there, getting a little boop action going on as Infinity also trying to return the favor and trying to hop on UTC game.
Collusion, one of the few Lucios who picks off the wall the cooldown reduction on Soundwave if you use it within a second of coming away from one of the walls on the battleground. Wants to be very disruptive plenty of times, and he's gonna need that knockback in order to deal with the furious assault that Greyman and Karazim can represent. We see Karazim picking up the Radiant Dash talent at level 7. More dashes. He's going to be combining that with the level 16 talent. The flurry of fists, 6 fists in rapid succession. And that's going to make him really strong actually in dealing with Tracer. There was Mary Day from former MVP Black, former member of MVP Black, that said that he loves to go Karazim against Tracer to deal with her. One of the very mobile ones that can deal with her speed.
World renowned as the best Karazim player in Heroes history and one of the best supports all around. As again, that 10 spike that we alluded to a few minutes ago has now crept in here for Team Freedom as they are very close. As one tower goes down, they'll have 10 momentarily. We'll see what they can do with it. Might make an early boss play. We'll see if they try, but as we saw in the previous game, didn't quite have the firepower to burst through it. So we have a look in at the top lane as well, as we have Tassadar and Sonya trying to defend it.
The Sky Temple gods look favorably upon Team Freedom on account of them doing worship on the sun and the moon shrines here, channeling those lasers. And this is the map choice for Beyond the Game, but it's a very good map for Team Freedom with an 85% win rate in Phase 2 of the HGC Pro Division in NA. 85% win rate makes Sky Temple the second best map for Team Freedom by the stats, trailing narrowly Infernal Shrines. So Team Freedom is showing that level of comfort here on this map so far.
See ST waiting in the bush there, looking for an opportunity. Now he's been found out. You have the phase shift in, unable to get that, but you can see they were baiting it out. Murden was sitting there like, yeah, please don't hurt me. And really it's like, look, you try and hurt me. I got friends that'll come in. Don't bully me, man.
In the meantime, no haze will be made. It's going to be Avatar, but it will also be Seven-Sided Strike together with Go for the Throat and Emerald Wind. So there is that power of Seven-Sided Strike. It's always risky to go for Palm when you have 2 additional supports. There's a big risk of Palm not going off due to a random healing pulse of Brightwing, for instance.
Stage dive not going to be picked up as we see Moshpit finally locked in, as he took quite a bit of time to figure out what his heroic would be. No Haymaker on the side of Murden, as some of us probably wouldn't have minded seeing in this game into that Seven-Sided Strike, but now there we go. There's the Seven-Sided Strike. Rest of the team coming in to try and soak up some of that damage. The cleanse over onto the one lone member into that mosh pit. Now we see
Collusion
going in deep.
Nice sound barrier, nice off the wall sound wave as well. Here with the second one on account of that sound barrier. Okay, on account of that talent off the wall, 2 kills, 3 kills.
Boss time.
And that's a boss time, yeah.
Boy, I tell you, when you're at this point and you're 7.5 minutes in, 2 levels up, you get that big team wipe, 3 members going down. You go directly over to the boss. We'll take a quick look at that replay. The mosh pit forced the cleanse, and you can see the pulse bomb. And as you said, Soundberry into a little bit of boop action going on there.
There's Soundwave number 1. Soundwave number 2 is available just seconds later, setting up another kill. Nice power slide from Zagrag. And not even a second of thought for that boss call. That's the kind of calls you want to be making very clean.
Credits to BTG there, recognizing that, look, we're going to end up giving a lot. We're down a couple of levels. We can't really contest this, and we've got to try and get something. They get a few shots in on that mid-temple. The boss is going to be pushing, which has to be contested. But I think the surprising thing is they leave Cure down here. Collusion really quick trying to go out about that. And shout out to Kendrick, our Gold Club caster, along with Tetra this year. Good to hear from you, man.
See you soon at BlizzCon, Kendrick. He's going to be making his way out for that one as well. For now, cheering from the sidelines, and of course, he is very well familiar with some of these crazy comps here. Triple support, is it the exception, or will it soon be the trend?
Oh, Collusion's like, look guys, I'm really fast, I've got rollerblades, let's go, let's go, let's go. And team's like, look, let's just fall back. We've got a nice sizable lead. We're heavily up in structures. Fall back. But Grumpy, the mini-map, there are 3 towers, all forts there, showing on the side of Team Freedom. At this point, you can play around the map and choke it out. And the best thing for Beyond the Game, they're going to have to wait and hope that the next one is a single altar or single temple phase, so they can try and at least force a fight. Else they're going to have to make something happen before 16 comes in.
Right, Jehao, and that's what they want. At this point, they will take any fight. A 40-60, yes please. The only thing that they don't want is to fight without, well, to lose the game without ever having had a fight. Do nothing and the map will eventually turn itself against them. And so they need to force a fight right here, right now. Even before level 13 talent, they know they'll get it soon. They should search a fight, but the problem is the whole map is blue, so they clear waves. There is a bruiser camp top, and Team Freedom will manipulate this, leave the bruiser camp, and go somewhere else. Only trouble is, there's nothing else to do.
As you can see, Team Freedom taking a very cautious approach, and rightfully so. We saw the phase shift in attempt, although Zugrug, he's going to be met here. The rest of his team's like, wait a minute, can we go in? Cure trying to land the spear is going to miss. Does have that jump in, though, with the level 13 talent on that mystical spear.
ST was heavily baiting out an engage on himself. He was deliberately putting himself in power slide range, knowing that a Radiant Dash was available. He wants Team Freedom to sense a weakness that isn't exactly there, allowing Beyond the Game to get a fight pre-16. But that chance has evaporated like snow before the midsummer sun. Beyond the Game will be up against the level 16 talent right as the temples are about to spawn any second now, and that's really troubling for them.
It's troubling. We see the mini-map. You see Brightwing all the way at the top using that global to try and defend that, and it's a tough defense for Brightwing. Double temple phase.
Double temple.
And Team Freedom can basically, they have easy retreat points because all of their forts are still up. So if things don't even go halfway right, you just fall back. We'll see exactly how aggressive they want to be as Collusion wall riding his way around the map. They're going to take control of vision, take control of the rotations. And if they just trade here, it's a huge win for Team Freedom and a very frustrating defense for Beyond the Game.
Beyond the Game skirting around the edges of vision, trying to keep their position and their whereabouts hidden for as long as possible. Ego is representing more forces, but you never know for sure. Are they really there? And to a degree they are, but Karazim is actually going to set up for the trade. It's the safe play, it's the logical play, it's how you should do it. I'm just not sure that the map permits for it anymore, J.O.
This map is one of the least forgiving, and look at this. They're rotating up with that 16 talent tier spike. Nasmus trying to go in on the Tracer, but the dash out by Karazim. The shift in, going to reveal what's going on. They're going to start to rotate down because Sonya was left here. Right now, Ego holding fort, but 3 levels down at this point. That is more than just talents, and all of a sudden Ego's in a bad spot. The nice interrupt on the Dwarf Toss going to force out the Ancestral Grubby.
Very nice by Zugrug. Never want to use that face melt unless someone is already jumping away, and it's a kill on Muradin in Avatar mode. Another power slide, Pulse Bomb, Team Freedom with the double kill, and now they don't even need the lasers.
Give me some more, Grubby. Give me some more ice blocks coming out. It's going to be 3 members down.
You right here.
Oh, yeah, it feels good. They're going to go in. They're going to try and take mid keep. Maybe they're going to back off. They're going to play it safe. I thought that they had a potential. Death timer's a bit too short. This is one of those more aggressive and more siege-oriented team. Will probably go in, take that mid keep, go directly to core, but they are so far ahead that they're going to grab some temples, take a couple keeps in the process, just choke them out. At this point, all Team Freedom has to do is choke Beyond the Game out of this game. Exactly. They are doing it just on temples and talent tiers alone.
Exactly. I mean, if Team Freedom had a minion wave, I do believe they would have gone for that keep at least, or maybe the core, but with the lack of a minion wave, it was the safe play that was the call. Not too exciting maybe, but 100% correct. There's plenty of excitement.
It's too correct. It's too correct. No Haymaker, come on, man. Don't go for core.
So right, it hurts.
Well, right now it's a tough defense. Boss is going to be there, and that might actually be Beyond the Game's only way to try and get back into this game. They're almost 16. Force the boss out. Force a fight. See if Team Freedom will take the bait. And if you're Team Freedom, you're like, that's a nice boss you have there. Go ahead and take it. We'll gladly stand behind our walls, stand behind our fort, and give it up. They are so far ahead. Right now, Beyond the Game has to do something. And if it's forcing a boss fight, this is the only thing they can do. They're in position. They're looking for a fight. But right now, it just seems like they're waiting to pull the trigger.
Beyond the Game is sending a message to Team Freedom. Excuse me, would you be so kind as to start the boss, please? It's been a while since we've had a boss throw. And Team Freedom says, no thank you, we prefer to play
Wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. Tassadar, where were you?
Let's see that again. Enhance. But yeah, actually he got taken out by Karazim behind the gate, and it's something.
His Archon is still off cooldown. He could have double shifted at what point? I know we might have missed that, but this is a boss. Now, giving up a boss, no big deal, Grubby. Giving up a boss while simultaneously losing a member on...
I mean, this is a little bit reminiscent of the Cursed Hollow situation. Game 2, Beyond the Game wins it. They were 2 levels and a bit down. They just needed 1 tribute, and they actually take a boss, they get a kill, get the curse, the map objective, and then win without their Storm tier talent. Now, that's the Cinderella story. It happened once. I don't know that it can happen again. Look at the blue bruiser. Double bruises at the core.
It's a bit too early to hit the panic button, but you are lifting that plastic cover and your fingers hovering over it. Team Freedom not quite there yet. But the fact that Tassadar went down, now they don't have 20. Now they don't have anything. You have Brightwing, of course, defending against that. Now all of a sudden we have a potential, as you said, Cursed Hollow moment. That 18 to 20 fight that we had. Team Freedom, I want to see what they do here. Reasonably, you get 20 and you come down and defend, but are they shook right now?
Everyone is watching to see what you will do. 7-sided strike on Sonya. Sound barrier's good. Emerald Wind even better. Cure isolated away. No level 20 yet. He stays alive by the skin of his teeth. Ego cannot accept this. Injustice goes in. 4-man mosh pit.
We've got a 4-man mosh. We've got a power slide over. That's going to be 2 members down. Zugrug and team starting to clean up. That is 3. Let's make it 4. You know what, Grubby? I think we might have all 5 here. Ego in all kinds of trouble. Dwarf tosses away. And just like that, Team Freedom will march their way to the core, move on to the upper bracket finals against Fnatic, and that is going to be Team Freedom taking the victory here in game number 3.
2-1. Closer maybe than they would have liked, but it's a victory, and that still feels good. And Beyond the Game availed themselves heroically. They've done better than most would have expected them to do. Team Freedom wins that one. Beyond the Game to the loser bracket against Darksided. Team Freedom will meet the challenge of Fnatic.
Will meet the challenge of Fnatic, and I imagine when they play Fnatic, it won't be against triple support that we saw there from Beyond the Game. Obviously being a little bit more experimental with their drafts. Unfortunately, didn't work out for them in that game, but credits to Team Freedom. They ran a very aggressive comp back into that Task Tracer. This time they had the Sonya, and it seemed really impactful that last team fight. When you're not able to take, she didn't have 20, but that Ignore Pain popped in, and then all that healing from that Whirlwind kept her alive. If they got that first pick on Sonya, we're looking at a very different game.
This was Lucio Killusion's playground. Perfect sound barriers, much better than the rest of the series so far. Even has 21 hero damage, 21,000 hero damage, more than Tassadar ETC. That's pretty unusual. With that off-the-wall talent there, Killusion saving Sonya and saving the game. First Hollow will not be on a repeat. But you know what? I feel like BTG overused something. They dangerously overused supports. What if there are no supports left and Fnatic will go 0 support style against Team Freedom?
I think that's something to consider, and I think something to consider also for that draft is going to be our analysis desk with players.
An ambitious play there from BTG, unfortunately not to be for them, as Team Freedom is able to march on 2-1. And boys?
The experiment was not a success. It was a disaster. I'm watching Sonya survive better with Whirlwind and Ignore Pain than Muradin as Avatar and 3 supports and an Ancestral surviving. It just wasn't a good time for BTG.
I said it while we were watching the game, and I have to say it again, I'm happy they lost with this, because if triple support becomes the standard, yeah, that would be not quite the meta that I'm looking forward to. I like it a bit more aggressive than that, but yeah, it backfired hard.
On a serious note, I think, I mean, what's the biggest weakness of a support-heavy composition is their lack of wave clear, and what better map to try and abuse that on with the sieging potential than Sky Temple, where if you win these team fights, progressively the map is getting less and less structured in your favor, so they can run with the win physically, and if you can't survive, then yeah, the demise really is there from the get-go.
Well, that pretty much wraps up what we thought of game number 3, I think, as we can head over to the stage now to hear from Kevin and with Team Freedom.
Thank you so much, Kylaris. And that's right, I'm here with Zugrug, the tank player for Team Freedom. Congratulations on winning that series. I'm sure it was a little bit bumpier than you probably would have wanted, but congratulations all the same. You know, your roster is probably known as one of the most improved over the course of the entire HGC. You guys have come a very long way since the beginning. What do you think has contributed to that growth as a team?
Just our team, everyone's working hard, playing Hero League every day, trying super hard in scrims. Like, everyone has the mindset that we want to be the best.
That's awesome. Now, I know when we had our Media Day interviews, I was very impressed with your team's sense of self-awareness. I know that this is one of the few international tournaments you've been able to be a part of. So it sounds like you have a very grounded perspective of where you stand in terms of the landscape. But for your team, what would be What would be a satisfying result in terms of standings for this tournament for you to walk away feeling satisfied with your performance?
We definitely want to get out of groups, but I think everyone's aiming for at least a top 4 finish at BlizzCon.
That's fantastic. I love it. All right, so next up, the winners match. This is Fnatic. How do you plan for a team like that? What's the game plan?
I mean, we've looked at their drafts a lot. We scrimmed them when we were at the Western Clash, and they kind of destroyed us, but we've gotten a lot better since then, and I think we're prepared. We've prepared the most for them, like looking at drafts and everything.
Awesome. Well, Zugrek, good luck, man. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
All right. Team Freedom takes a victory there. They move on. They're going to face up against Fnatic next in the winners match. It's just